Well, the leaders of the organized labor appear to have their eyes set on what they want and how they want it. I'd like you to take a listen to the president of the NLC, Mr. Joe Ajero. He's pegged a figure, and this is his reason.
The Nigerian Labour Congress and TUC have made it clearly and emphatically that should the minimum wage negotiation continue and linger till the end of May, we can no longer guarantee industrial harmony in this country.
Well, you heard them. The NLC president has said it. He said 615,000 naira is what will be appropriate for a living wage. Well, you've heard what the governor of Edo State has also announced. He said 70,000 naira will be paid. The governor of Lagos State is also muted the idea that there might be an increase in the minimum wage. But tonight is a special program and a special focus, of course, to the yearnings and the agitations of the Nigerian worker. Tonight, I have one of the governors also joining me on the program, and I have the privilege of a former governor and a former NLC president and a sitting member of parliament. I have Senator Adams Oshiomhole. Thank you so much indeed, comrade, for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me, Shehu.
I appreciate it.
Happy May Day.
May Day to you.
You deserve your wages.
That's what they say. And Your Excellency, the governor of Nasarawa State, Comrade Abdullah Sule.
Thank you
Would you like to be called a comrade on a day as this?
When I'm sitting next to him, I would love it.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming tonight. I think it's a day that we need to applaud the effort and the sweat of every worker who have been pushing hard for our nation's development. Perhaps I should begin with one man that has sweated and been on the streets and agitating and singing solidarity song. Comrade, what does it feel like to, on a day as this, when people are saying 70,000, 615,000, an average worker on a day as this? We know the inflation figures, we know what the economy is saying, but what, in summary, what is your assessment of the situation?
Well, I think there is some unanimity between employers, including private employers, obviously federal government, and I believe state government, that the current legal minimum wage of 30,000 is a joke. And there is a recognition of the fact that the purchasing power of workers across board, including directors, permanent secretaries, not to talk of those who are on level 1, level 4, but purchasing power has dropped dramatically, radically, and you need to beef it up so that, as they say, let my take-home pay not only take me home, let it put food on the table for me, my wife, and my children. And even for those who no longer have dependent children, as pensioners, they do need to feed. And sometimes the kind of food they need is a bit more complicated. So everybody needs a pay rise. And in the market economy, it is a reality that as prices go up, there are even countries where wages are indexed to rate of inflation, so that you defend. So if you're not going to be better off, you shouldn't be worse off. So I think there's a shared commitment that wages should go up and go up radically as much as prices have skyrocketed.
I think that is also something that workers we hear, not only for workers within the government sphere, but also workers in the private sector.
But that's what I said.
Yeah.
All employers.
Absolutely.
Local government, state government, federal government, private sector employers in construction, in manufacturing, in services sector, all those who employ labor. Because at the end of the day, they are all charging, those in the private sector, they are all charging higher prices. So what you refer to as inflation is the fact that there is those who sell, retailers and what have you, they've all marked up their prices to cope with the reality. Whether they are producing, the cost of production seems to have gone up, and they have marked up sometimes much, much higher than the relative increase in the cost of production. And of course, government is making more money, even if the dollar earning has not changed. But the fact of devaluation means that between the time I left government, for example, in fact, between the time over the past 1 year, nominal income has increased and revenue accrued to government. And it's just fair that they take part of it to compensate, which is why I believe what the government has done before was to give as a kind of temporary relief. They awarded 35,000 naira across the board. And in my previous program here, I told you the logic of that is that if the minimum wage as of now is 30,000 and the government approved 35,000 across the board, what it means effectively is that the least worker should not earn less than 65,000. The old 30 plus 35,000 awarded. And of course, the statement by the government, for me, I found that very commendable to put everybody on notice, both government as a player, governments and private players, that if you delay the negotiation, we are committed to May 1st, which means the earlier you get it done, the better. And because every employer, including federal, state, local government, private sector employers have been put on notice about the fact that minimum wage will take effect from 1st of May, people should begin to provide for it.
It means today.
So that now as we speak, it's on.
Yeah.
It's on.
It means that it's going to be paid retroactively.
Yes.
That's what it means.
That is allowable in law. Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
you can pay arrears. I mean, the most popular arrear in Nigeria will forget people of my age is the one talking about Udoji arrears.
Udoji. I mean, it's easily, one will remember the Udoji arrears easily when the government, and it might sound confusing to many when the government said it will take effect from today, yet they've not agreed on the figures yet, but they say it will take effect from today. That means that they have some money that the federal government is owing them or government is owing them in lieu of the services they are being rendered.
I think what it means is that government seek, and I believe rightly, to reassure workers that we are painstakingly looking at all the numbers. This might take a little more than the worker wants, because the giver and the taker, one is more anxious than the other, right? Maybe the receiver wants it faster, and then the person paying may appear to want to do more calculations. Everybody is running numbers, but just to say, look, gentlemen, we're not going to rush, but we will do what is sustainable, but be rest assured that whenever we fix it, it will take effect from today. In other words, the delay will not be at the expense of the working class.
So the governor of Edo State has made an official announcement, 70,000. The governor of Lagos said that muted it, but it has not come to effect. He also muted the fact that around that figure, about 70,000. What do you make of those governors who are ahead of this plan of the federal government?
I'm very happy with what the Edo State governor has done, because he just been consistent with the tradition that we established when I was the governor and he was my economic advisor. Namely, that when governor says they can't afford 80,000 naira, and I said, let's put an end to this rhetoric. Edo is about 16 or 18 in terms of federal revenue allocation, what accrues to the state. And if states that are earning almost double revenue from oil argue they can't pay 80,000, then I decided that we can pay, and we started paying 25,000 naira, which was about 33% increase on the minimum wage. And the good thing is that my successor, Obaseki, sustained that tradition. And before now is 40, while some states are still not even paying the old 30,000. So what he has done is not a new minimum wage, because not the one that is backed by law, okay? What he has done is in recognition of the current hardship, to say, okay, I'm giving you this, but by the time the minimum wage is settled by law, and it's unlikely to be less than that figure, I believe he will do the needful, he will still implement it. Stop asking where will this thing come from.
Say that again.
I say stop asking where will the money come from. Because I want you laboring where the money comes.
The question is that
where is the
governors
energy?
have always complained that
anything.
The revenues are not coming.
Those same governors are buying new cars at correct price. They don't pity them because revenue is low. I have a brother here who is also a governor. You don't go to the market and say, I'm not from oil producing, so I want to buy a car.
Nasarawa is almost an oil producer now.
Whether it is not. Truth of the matter is the market. We have to speak the language of the market. He has a private sector background. You understand what drive prices? What drive prices? Those forces that drive prices, drive cost of living, right? And why people work is to earn and live happily, not just for themselves, but for their families. So the language of labor is not just pay me wages, pay me a living wage. Even the Holy Quran, the Holy Bible says that the worker deserves his wages. Wages, not starvation wages, living wage, decent jobs.
Let me bring in the governor. I wanted Comrade to lay the background for us.
You set me up. You should have talked to the player first.
But I know that the employers of labor are going to be sitting on a hot seat right now, because then the calculations will begin on how do we meet up the expectations of the workers. But how difficult is it to reality of wanting to meet up with the expectations of the average worker? The federal government has announced today, it means that imminently the state government have to fall in line.
Okay, first and foremost, let me wish you happy Workers' Day.
Same to you.
And let me wish my dear chairman, I still call him the comrade chairman, happy Workers' Day as well. And let me pick up from one statement he made, which is a fact. And we continue to give the credit to Mr. President for some of the policies taken. There is no state in the Federation, including Nasarawa today, that will say we have not seen improved revenue that has come to us. And I think every state is proving it by the number of so many infrastructural development and other kinds of development that are taking place. And that's why a state will jump up and say, we are going to do agricultural development of so and so hectares, thousands of hectares. It's all because of the improved revenue. Now, coming from the private sector, 30,000 was when I came to government. When I was a group MD of Dangote Sugar, 30,000 was not even a number for us, because you have some of the minimum people earning far more than 30,000 naira from the private sector. But it's because of the kind of profitability of the company and the kind of everything that is there. So we're not afraid to pay as long as the income is there. So it now brings me to the point you made about realities. Now to tell you, let me even clear another point. Nasarawa, he said Edo State is roughly about number 18 when it comes to federal allocation distribution. Nasarawa is usually about number 33.
Out of 36.
Out of 36.
Before now.
Up till now. Okay, when it comes to the federal allocation. But what has happened is that last month, because of the improved revenue, we didn't wait for federal government. We had paid all our medical workers hazard allowance. So we implemented hazard allowance when so many states actually have not been able to do that. So we have implemented that in order to calm the workers, down, because we are beginning to lose some of our medical staff. And that's the reason why we had to take a decision, and we took that decision. We have implemented promotions from even 2009, all the way to 2017, 2018 when I came in. It's not because we were having this, but we had improved IGR, and that's the reason why we took some of those decisions. Now, let me back up a statement he made, and based on the statement that I also made about the improved revenue. Do the Nigerian workers deserve more in view of the inflation and everything? Definitely yes. Can every state afford to pay a little more than what we are paying now? Definitely yes. Nasarawa is one of the states that we have since implemented the 30,000 minimum wage. So we have implemented that. So if we are going to pay more, we are more than willing to pay more. The reason why we didn't jump the gun to do anything, we were negotiating actually with our workers. So we said we were going to pay them this palliative for 6 months, which ended last month. And we say after the palliative, we'll discuss promotion. But then we came to say, okay, why discussing promotion? Why don't us wait and look at exactly what the federal government is going to say? So if the numbers that I see in the social media are correct, where the federal government is saying they are having an increase of 35%, 25%, whatever that number is, if it is correct, I don't think any state will have serious problem doing that, to be honest with you. And I definitely, Nasarawa State will not have a problem handling that. Because the inflation that it is at the moment, and based on that, I don't think anybody is having a serious problem to say that we are not interested. Yesterday, we had the meeting of the Northern Governors in Kaduna, and one of the issues actually that came up, is about security. And when we talk about security, then we talk about the welfare of the people, poverty level that are there. Those are all the issues that we were discussing yesterday. Out of school children, what can we do more? This and that. And we took some of those decisions. discussing about the economy. So I don't think it's a debatable matter. It's just a matter of wait and see when this government actually, you have to understand also certain things that are happening in certain states. Lagos state government can afford to do certain things that nearly all the states in the federation cannot do. The IGR of Lagos alone, can take care of so many things that so many states cannot do. So it is to be able to do it, but it is able to understand that it's a responsibility, because he mentioned it, that if we are going to say, if I have a worker, it's my responsibility to find the money that I'm going to pay for him, whether it is coming from federation account, whether I'm taking a loan, whatever it is, because I have somebody to work for me, I must find a way to pay him.
So, I mean, there are those who, and when Comrade Oshiomhole was in as a governor, there are those, I mean, there was the time that some governors fought with the federal government on the issues of the money that belonged to the federation and how that those monies can also be spent. And there are those who will say, at the moment right now, compared to several months ago, there's some state that should be thinking about saving for the raining day, because allocation to the state is now far higher than what we were experiencing before. And that those who will say, look, is this not a time for state government or state governors to start thinking of what they can now do on their own within their territory to make more money and save for the raining day? And I see that all exploration, you already set up a committee in Nasarawa State. You're already talking about mining. You're talking about housing in Nasarawa State. Is this part of your thinking in the state when you want to join the League of Oil Producing States? Is that your plan?
It's not just about oil. I think, like you rightly mentioned, let me give you an example. We came in and met in 2019. The total IGR of the state was just about 7 billion for the whole year 2019. And that's what I inherited. Today, our IGR is in over 20 billion. So the issue is that every state has to look into, and locally for us, really, Nasarawa State, we have a lot. Just today, I'm coming, I already commissioned a factory, in Uke area, of Karu local government area, that is processing the highest purity of lithium. I finished that and then went straight into Nasarawa town, where I now inspected the biggest lithium factory that Mr. President is coming on the 10th of May to commission. We finished on that. I came back here. That's the reason why I was coming a little late, to have a meeting with another company that is building a little bit bigger than that other factory that Mr. President is commissioning on that. You see, we have to look into that. We are going into agriculture. For us locally, the oil is one thing, but coming from the oil background, I know oil money will take a little while. It has taken them about a year drilling just the exploration well. The well they are drilling right now is called the exploration well. And they have not yet reached the sand of interest yet.
The committee you set up, what is it for?
The committee I set up is people who understand oil and gas industry. And that committee is to be able to work closely with NMPC. We don't want to leave it. We don't want to stay completely out of it when we have people who understand the industry. So they can also assist the NMPC. NMPC, you need a technical partner in this particular field. Can we get the partner for you? Do you need a company that's going to carry out this oil service operation? Can we also be part of it? Can we get someone for you? Are you going to settle with the community? Can we get a better deal for you with the community to be able to do that? How does the state participate in this oil and gas operation and development that is taking place in Nasarawa State? Because we don't want to go back, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We have seen the oil and gas operation everywhere, in the Niger Delta. We have known the challenges that have happened. We don't want to have those kind of challenges, especially when our own oil and gas production in Nasarawa State is what we call an integrated field development, which means you produce the oil there, you refine it there, produce the gas there, you produce power there, fertilizer there, and all you do is you truck out finished product. So if that is the case, then we have to be very, very sure that what we are doing is right, is better for the environment, better for the community, better for the investor. And those are the kind of people we got.
Some of us who are pro-federating units are thriving. And look at the end of First Republic stroke, the beginning of Second Republic kind of economy, where the regions were performing economically. And there seems to, we became lazy after the oil boom and the oil money was coming. And that those who were, in few years ago, we saw a lot of oil money coming into this country, and we lost sight as a nation of how much we needed to look inward. Our refineries were not working. And imagine that Niger State is thinking about agriculture, Kebbi is partnering with Lagos State, and now that you are thinking about lithium production, you're thinking about mining, you're thinking about petroleum. How soon can production of lithium come alive in Nasarawa State?
It's already alive. Before I went to the company today, and the company is just, because if the president is coming in 10 days to commission it, we better be ready.
So we can see lithium literally being produced.
You can see 99% purity lithium right now. We have about 5 sites in Nasarawa State that have huge deposit of lithium. We have one site that the company has already drilled 40 meters deep. And the deposit is showing us we can go 80 meters deep before going to the site. So we are now taking lithium through the elevator from the 40 meters depth all the way to the surface. They are already taking lithium and separating it from nickel and then the other rare metals. And as a result of that, that's what, because you don't invite the president to tell him, oh, that's the company that is going to do lithium. The company better be operated. I came from the private sector. Every time Dangote was commissioning a cement plant, he was there. He came to so many of our commissioning. Oh, the plant better be working. So the plant is working, it's producing cement, and that's exactly what we intend to do. So it's already producing.
It means then that Nasarawa State, first and foremost, let me ask you,
okay.
And perhaps for the people of Nasarawa State, maybe they will get a breaking news from you tonight.
Okay.
What figure do you think might be appropriate for the Nasarawa people, Nasarawa workers?
No, we Nasarawa people, as I told you, we were already negotiating when the federal government came in. We don't want to jump the gun. We're not Edo. I'm not rich like this guy, So I'm not oil producing yet. So I have to be careful.
You have the prospects.
Yeah, we have the prospects. And the state has all the prospects it needs, and we don't have also the big budget payroll that some of the states do, really. So that's why we can afford to do certain things. So I don't want to jump the gun, but I will tell you, if federal government says this is it, I assure you, Nasarawa State will follow.
Federal government has said it has to start now, and they've said 35% anyways. So from a comrade's calculation, it's just a little less than 70,000.
No. 35% is not less than 70,000.
I said
you don't understand
mathematics.
I'm very terrible at maths. Numbers,
but you're good. You're good. You want to just cover something. Earlier in the year, last year, the federal government announced 35%. Sorry, 35,000 naira, not percent.
Yes,
35,000 naira wage increase across the board. That for me meant that, given that the legal minimum wage was 30,000, the least worker having 35,000 added to his or her pay, nobody ought to go home with less than 65,000 naira.
I get your calculation, which makes a lot of sense.
That is as of that time. Now, the governor was alluded to the fact that the government said this was for a palliative for 6 months, which probably has ended. But the hardship has not ended. So what you do to withdraw the palliative, which was meant to cure certain level of pain, the pain is still there. I'm not sure how it's going to work out. But my takeaway from what the governor is saying is, and your question, first, I think the federal government has acted responsibly as an employer of labor. Without prejudice to the outcome of the ongoing negotiations, I offer this relief. But prayerfully, when the negotiations are concluded, effective from 1st of January, usually when you jack up the bottom, you have to redistribute across board. Otherwise, you create crisis within the salary structure. So I expect that this is just, look, okay, hang on to this while negotiation continues. The federal government has not announced 45% increase in minimum wage. No. Across the board and various sectors. Some 35, some 25. The details I do not have them yet. But I think what for me is significant is that government says, effective from this month, whatever we agree, we take effect from January. Essentially, the governor of Nasarawa is saying, whatever the federal government agree, he believes Nasarawa will pay. The only appeal I would make to him is that that those negotiations should lead to a temporary outcome without prejudice, because the national wage is something that in an ideal society, and in fact, not just a ideal society, when minimum wage was introduced, it wasn't meant to be paid by formal sector. It's something that is meant to address those sweatshops where people don't have negotiating power, and so the law has to protect them. A major employer of labor, like state, local government, and federal, should actually be paid the legal minimum wage. They should pay much more, which was why when I was president of NLC, I think we did have a minimum wage then by law of 5,000, but we insisted, for example, when you measure Lagos, that Lagos should pay 7,500, and federal government should pay 7,500, which meant 50% over and above the legal minimum wage. So it is not even right for a major employer, however, former organized sector, to pay the bare minimum wage, just a subsistence wage.
Comrade,
an employer should pay much more than that.
Comrade, although the federal government today announced an increase between 25 and 35% increase. The NLC president has disagreed. He said that is going to be mischievous, according to Mr. Joe Ajaero. And Mr. Joe Ajaero, as an NLC president, is suggesting 615,000 naira as what he says should be the living wage. And he gave a reason, and these are the reasons. He broke it down. He said, this is how they arrived at the figure. We have housing and accommodation of 40,000 naira. Electricity of 20,000 naira. That was their calculation before the increase of the tariff. It says that they're looking at about utility of 10,000 naira, kerosene and gas about 25,000 to 35,000 naira. They are looking at food for a family of 6, that's about 9,000 in a day. For 30 days, that's about 270,000 naira. Looking at medicals for 50,000 naira. Clothing, they're looking at 20,000. Education, 50,000. And they are also looking at sanitation for 10,000 naira, bringing it, their calculation, to 615,000 naira. From your own point of view, what do you make of that figure?
Well, I think NSC has done the right thing by trying to make a proposal and make attempt to justify their proposal. The operating word, that is the demand. I believe the employers will also look at certain variables and make a counter responsible and reasonable offer. And along the line, agreement will be reached. It would be fair for me to sit here and attempt to prejudice the process by measuring a figure, because the parties to the discussion, which include the organized private sector, the state and local government, and the federal government, it is up to them to generate counter numbers and to rationalize whatever they are proposing. Now, I'm not sure of, because of the, I'm not sure what details my brother Ajaero has. I don't think what federal government has done, I think it's like, look, the pain is here already. While we are negotiating, I'm giving you 25%. It is not as alternative, nor does it prejudice the right of the federal government or of the unions to say, yes, we take this one, but it's not enough. And so we are pursuing, while we are waiting for the minimum wage finally, which will take effect from today, or which has taken effect from today, you already have this 25%, because the pain is here. It is not realistic to wait. You know, it's like a surgeon, all right, you have a serious medical condition, okay, we give you pain relief, but it is not the surgery that is required to put an end to the malignant part of the body. That is how I understand it. Now that Ajaero says, no, I don't need any pain relief. I want to go straight to the theater. If I have a conversation with him, I'll find out the way his mind is working. But in my view, effective days has been fixed. The federal government did say we are increasing minimum wage or salaries, minimum wage by 25%. Just say we are awarding 25 to 35% to different sectors, and they identified those sectors. Now, the only thing I think Ajaero should be doing now is that it won't be right, because there's what we call the neighborhood effect. The federal government has jacked up, it has offered 25% or 35%. Let other employers take a cue and begin to adjust so that when the minimum wage comes, we don't have to increase it by many percentages. So that is how I understand it.
Yeah. And you wearing a lot of caps now. As a lawmaker, a former labor leader, a former governor, what former again should I add to your name?
No, I'm just coming.
Let me bring in Governor Sule here. I know you and your colleagues in the other 35 states will now have to sit at NEC meeting to also rationalize whatever the tripartite committees will now arrive at, because largely not only the federal government will be involved in this payment. I imagine that the state government also have, in fact, maybe a larger pool of workers to pay. 615,000 naira. If that is the agreed figure, would you be able to pay it in Nasarawa?
Let me even correct the one portion that you mentioned. You say the governors will have to sit. In fact, the governors are going to sit in the next 25 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I'll release you. Yeah. I'll release you from the studio earlier.
So the governors are going to sit in the next 25 minutes at 8 o'clock. And these are some of the issues that definitely will be discussed. Mm-hmm. You know, now whether he said something again, you know, I'm happy really putting me together with him because he's able to defend both sides, you know, on the other side, you know, and because he's from both sides, you know, and he said it has
representing workers.
And today he's wearing a cap.
not several caps.
Yeah, but we'll invite him as a consultant. You see, the bottom line really is that if you look at it, he said what is realistic and what is reasonable. You know, it doesn't make any sense if you say your total income in the state is going to be 2 billion naira. And then now your total package that you are going to be paying every month is going to be 2.5 billion naira every month. Okay? So when you say that, what is going to happen is technically that state is going to be insolvent. It's going to go broke. No doubt about it. You know, and I think that's the decision. When the removal of subsidy was done, that was the reason that Mr. President decided, you know, to say it's going to be painful, but this is the decision that has to be taken before we go bankrupt. You know, just like he repeated it himself, you know, in the Middle East. So I think it has to be something that we can afford, something that is realistic, and the rest of that. You know, even if he says, okay, he calculated 615,000. Why don't you put a little more for savings? You know, make it 700,000, make it 800,000. But is that realistic? Can the states afford to pay? In fact, can the federal government itself afford to pay? You know, so I think as a labor leader, he has done the right thing by at least making an offer and justifying the offer. So it is now up to the other employers, you know, to say, no, this is our own offer and this is our justification. And I think that's the way to go.
So those who will say what will be a lasting solution is if the lives of people are made better by provision of infrastructure, making if the economy looks better. And if you ask the federal government, they will say, oh, we're working to make that better. We're working on the FX windows, we're working on infrastructure, we're working on FDI and working on all of those. Yeah. But the bigger picture here is the lives and the livelihoods of the average person. And when you add that meeting with the northern governors, yourself and your colleagues, security is also very critical. And I take cognizance of the fact that you need to leave soon. The issue of security, that those who say they do not agree about with state policing option, which is also very critical to economic development in the nation. At what did you and your colleagues agree on, and as a way to go on the state police or policing option for Nigeria or for the region?
Okay, we didn't agree generally as a team, but there are so many governors who have said state police is the right thing to go, and there are a few other governors who said, no, we don't think it is the right thing to go because we are not ready. We don't think we can really afford it. We don't think we can control it. So there are governors who have given reasons why they don't like it, and there are so many governors who have given reasons why they like it. But you mentioned one thing that I don't want it to leave, which is the reason why, in fact, I was coming in the first place before May Day came in, you know, about our own, you know, summit, economic summit that we are having. You see, that's the essence of us having this summit. Every state must look inwards. How do we generate more revenue? How can we take care of our own liabilities? without always running back to either getting a loan or to the center. So what do we do that? So we decided, in the year 2022, we had our first summit. It is that first summit that has given birth to so many of these industries that we are just commissioning, starting like the one we commissioned today. Another one we commissioned about 3 months ago, another one. So it is what gave birth to that. So we want to build on that. By building on that, you have an opportunity now to have more revenue for the state, more income for the state, and most of the workers will become more independent. I'm trying to find workers really who will shun public service and say, hey, we're going to work for so and so private companies because they pay better. They take care of us better, this and that. That's the idea, because most of the
time... Is that the legacy you want to leave as a governor of industrialization?
For me, that's the legacy. In fact, that's the theme of this industrial renaissance of this particular summit.
You want Nasarawa to have a new name, just like you have Lagos and Lagos, Ogun, and Oyo State. Those governors are competing. Which of the states have the most companies and industries, and which is a very good thing. That competition is very, very critical.
Correct.
That is what you are aiming at.
That's exactly what I'm aiming at.
So in the Northern Basin, it will be a case of looking at Nasarawa as the place to go to in terms of housing, in terms of industrialization. On the final note, Governor, if you look at all of this bottom line, the poverty index is very critical because there are those who are not also captured in the working population of a state. And those sometimes are not also thought about. And those are sometimes the ones who invariably add to the security liability of the state. How are you taking care of those?
We're taking care of those through education. We're taking care of those through, let me give you the example of farmers. Most of the farmers in Nasarawa State, we give them fertilizer twice a year. The one for dry season farming and then the one for wet season farming. We support them in that area. We support them in the area of health. We support them in the area of education. We have been promoting vocational and technical education. And the reason why we keep pushing for that is because we want people to be independent. We want people to be able to acquire skills. Even if somebody has a degree, I don't want to call any course so I don't get in trouble. Somebody has a particular degree in a certain discipline that is very difficult for the person to get a job. We say, come in. We build centers where you can come in and acquire a skill. Is it electrical installation, fitter machinists, motor mechanics, welding, fabrication, electrical installation, whatever it is. We give you training there, and in most cases, we give them with a package, when they finish. That is their startup package. And people begin from there, they now become employers. We have now gone back to the universities. We have done the one of the Nasarawa State University, where we give them the skill in areas of irrigation, in areas of poultry, in other areas. Some of them, actually, that finish, we give them ₦1 million each to go and set up a small business. There are some of them who said they are never going to work for anybody, giving them 25,000.
You need to capture these testimonials in a video so that the people can see the evidence of what you say you have done.
These are in the videos. These are in the videos because, yes.
Can I?
Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Your Excellency, I'm happy you raised this issue. For me, the problem we have today with regard to insecurity is also a manifestation of the level of the young and not so young people who are illiterate. Even when they are literate, they don't have the appropriate skill. And so they are socially excluded. And so we can look for all kinds of jargon to explain or to categorize banditry, insurgency, whatever. I think that going forward, for Nigeria to be stable, we must go along the line that the Excellency was talking about. We must invest and encourage investors to invest in production, in the manufacturing sector. That is where the jobs are going to come from.
Mm-hmm.
For example, what took me to Kaduna was not to be employed by Kaduna State government.
Exactly.
Someone told me that there are a lot of textile factories in Kaduna. If I go, regardless of my height, I will get a job. And I did find one. And I ended up organizing and becoming a union leader, and I was elected by people from the north that across the Middle Belt, they were all working in one textile company or the other. Kaduna Tower alone hosted about 30,000 workers. Now producing clothing. different kind of fabrics. And then through the policy of backward integration, which the then federal government imposed, these employers were forced to set up what they call cotton and agricultural processing company, to provide seed money, the money to farmers and educate them on how to ensure a better quality of cotton lead. And then that meant that rural poverty was being dealt with. And as these people produce this cotton, they have a ready market, which is the textile employers. And so the textile employers buy the cotton lint, they clean it up through ginnery in Zaria and some other places, and then they take it through spinning, to weaving, to printing, and then what we are wearing now, Robin Nigeria made. As we speak today, 200 million Nigerians are wearing imported, whether second-hand or imported clothing. Just imagine if what we wear is produced here locally. We will have more than 20,000 people. All right. In the long run, the demand of labor should not just be about wages. They must engage government on appropriate industrial policies and trade policies.
Absolutely.
Yes. How do we bring back Michelin? Now,
let me pause
what has led us? Let me just make this point. Why I talk about policy, I believe more in policy. But if you don't have the policy right, the outcome will be a given. Have we asked ourselves, how did we allow a situation where Michelin voted with his feet out of Nigeria? But Dunlop did the same, but Nigeria import all the tires that are on the road. Somebody should say, and it should start with this government. If other government has failed, this one will say, if you want to export tires to Nigeria, we give you X number of months or a year maximum. Locate here. We must not be afraid to make the point that we need a level of protection of Nigeria industries. You can't be part of a world trade where you are not trading. Market means you bring your goods, I buy, and I buy from you what I need. But when you are in a situation like the one we are in, minus oil, we have nothing else to sell to the world. So why are we part of the world trading system? Right. We are not. So those are the kind of policies I want NLC to engage the federal government to say, how do we bring the textile sector, the leather sector, even the petroleum industry, by a number of byproducts, but exporting those things without adding value. So I'm very excited, sir, Your Excellency, that you are looking out, not crying over the situation you met in Nasarawa, maybe a civil service state. You are boldly taking steps to become one of the
industrialized states.
That is the way to go.
Comrade.
And if everybody goes that way.
I like to detain you here in the studio to the end of the program. But I will I will release Governor Sule. Your final word before we go.
Let me take advantage of one statement he made. In the area of mining. We are attacked, state of solid minerals, home of solid minerals, that we are attacked. On assuming as a governor, the first ministry I visited was actually Ministry of Solid Minerals. When I went there, I discovered that 416 licenses were given. Yet, the state had no records of any of these companies mining and processing anything in the state. Therefore, we did exactly what he said the federal government should do. We now said, we have no control over issuing of license, but any state, any company that is coming with a license from the federal government to mine, you must also process in Nasarawa state. That was the executive order. That's exactly what has given
that to happen.
What has forced by most of these companies that are doing. That's the policy we have now, and that is what is happening. So you are invited on the 15th and 16th of May, coming to our economic summit. I'm inviting him. In fact, I'm giving him a spot in the deal room, so that because we have a deal room there, so we can.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Governor of Nasarawa, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Hopefully, the people of Nasarawa State will have the benefit of all of this. Let me allow you to run